ever tell you about the rare old fella from LAXEY and the magical tale he told me in the Flow and Main pub in Balladune? He was a wizened old stranger, white hair and beard, a bag of old bones, barely covered by the rags he wore as clothes. His hoary frame looked tired as he quietly sat by the fire, puffing on his pipe and having a bravig. He caught my attention and beckoned me over and told me that I might be interested in hearing a yarn about his time working in the Snaefell mines. He whispered to me he wanted to tell me the real reason why the LAXEY mine was closed and sealed off forever. It's not what we didn't find that day, but what we did that sealed the fate of that mine, a terrible secret. The story started in April 1934. He was a miner living with his family in Hammerneck Terrace in LAXEY. Himself and a small group of miners had made their way about 20 fathoms down the mine, deep in the gloom of the well shaft, with only their lanterns and tools for comfort. They'd been clearing a rock fall at the bottom of the shaft, hoping that behind it lay a new vein of zinc or lead, or just anything to turn the fortunes of the failing mine around. His supervisor, John Cubban, was just finishing placing a new timber across the side of the pit when there was a rumbling and a roaring. Terrible commotion indeed. Debris was falling all around them, and the ground was shaking and trembling. He said it was like the devil himself was dancing around the miners. When the cloying dust cleared and everyone was accounted for, they noticed a sizable hole had opened up in the easterly side of the shaft. A pungent, putrid aroma flushed out of the newly opened space and fastened to their noses. Cubban peered in with his lantern, illuminating the newly discovered chamber. He then let out a gasp. The flickering orange light of the lantern flashed across the damp recesses of the craggy den, its luminescence catching glints of gold and coins, old miners' tools and helmets, and a scattering of what looked like ancient rust-worn weapons. Cubban started moving some of the spoil out of the way, shouting, "We're rich, yeses! We're rich! Give me a hand with these rocks so we can get this stuff out." He made enough room so he could breach the hole and enter the rocky vault and started excitedly scooping the gold into his breeches and passing some of the treasure out to his fellow miners. He then let out an almighty shriek, which the old man said at the time resonated like a hideous spark through his bones. As the light of Cubban's lantern flickered across the top of the cave, it caught the glistening silk threads of a monstrous spider's web. The behemoth of a spider, the size of Qualtro's prize bull, sat band smack in the middle of its tangled gossamer strands. It was tipping and tapping on the silver threads, acting like a smug cat toying with its prey. The creature had 8 yellow glowing eyes, a red mane of hair like a horse down its middle, and 2 sodden dripping fangs the size of pick handles, hanging from its mouth. The ceiling of the chamber was covered in neatly wrapped silk mummies. Some were bodies of miners, some were the desiccated remains of animals of various shapes and sizes, and at the apex of the jagged roof, what looked like sleeping Viking warriors. Cubban shouted to the men to run for their lives. The old man said he could still see the image of him to this day, trying to squeeze back out through the small opening in the pit wall. The lantern fell out of Cubban's hand and rolled across the chasm floor. Within a breath he disappeared into the blackness, lost forever in the shadows. In the middle of the chaos, the old man said he'd heard a diabolical whisper ringing through the dark.
"Won't you stay a while and play with me?"
Several hours later, the surviving miners made it out into the daylight, and they spoke to their mine bosses about the ghastly events they'd witnessed. While at first the owners were in disbelief, the fearful look in all of the men's eyes and their pale, shaken pallor quickly convinced them that this was no childish prank. Everyone agreed that the mine should be flooded, and a shameful pretense was cooked up to cover Cubban's disappearance. He said that afterwards the miners all visited the widow's cottage, apologising that they were unable to recover her husband's remains, and a fund was set up to raise money to support the widow and her family. A pact was then formed by all parties to never talk about what had happened and to take their malignant secret to the graves. backs of the LAXEY wheel were changed to make it look to the untrained eye that the wheel was still pumping water out of the mines, when in fact it was flooding the mine to keep that devilish creature from coming out of the bowels of the earth. Then the old man fell silent. It was clear that he'd been rattled by the tale, and the images of the past conjured up in his telling. He grabbed me by the arm, and I felt the trembling in his bony hands as he delivered this ominous warning to me. I fear if that water wheel ever stops, the island will be in terrible trouble. Fallen silent again, he tapped the remnants of his pipe out on the hearth and began to warm his hands by the flames again. I thanked the stranger for his fireside tale and went to the bar to get him a pint for his troubles. When I returned to his seat by the fire, it was empty, and the pipe tobacco debris that had seen him knock out onto the hearth had disappeared. I turned to the barman and asked him what had happened to the white-haired old man I'd been talking to for the last half an hour. Scratching his head, he said, "What old man?" implicitly indicating that no such person had been in the pub that night.